All right. So I'm sitting here with Brandon Haught. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, so Brandon's gonna just share a little bit about his story with us, guys. So Brandon, just kind of walk us through your athletic journey. When did you start playing sports, and how did you grow to the point where sports was like a serious part of your life?
Yeah, man. So I didn't start playing sports until actually I was in about high school. And then even then, man, growing up, I tried to be athletic and I tried to get into middle school sports, but I was actually too big to play in the middle school. So I didn't have that opportunity. Uh, but at freshman year, I started playing football and I started working out. And, a lot of things at home kind of drove me to that. I had some anger issues, some temper issues, and that got me into playing sports initially. Initially it was kind of an outlet. And then, I've always been kind of competitive. So freshman year, I started hitting the weights, and I had people around me showing me some things, and that's when I kind of got serious, And then from high school, I kept up. I did really well in football, and then I wrestled too. Wrestling taught me a lot individually. A lot of self-development.
Mm-hmm.
But from there, man, being in the working out, I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. From there, I was working out a lot, and I was with a personal trainer. He asked me to go play for Buffalo, football for Buffalo. I ended up turning that down, but I was in some wrestling commercials too. I did some wrestling commercials, like
Were you really?
Yeah, WWE style wrestling commercials.
You still got the video? I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it actually wasn't for me at that time either, but because personally, like I said, I was competitive, but I was more into individual. Wrestling showed me that I was more competitive against myself, and individually I wanted to improve myself.
Yeah.
But I've always had a thing for the weight room and lifting. When I was about 20, it was when I had about all these offers. I ended up getting in a car accident, and it was pretty serious. It was a head-on collision. I went in the ambulance. There wasn't a lot wrong with me at that time, but later on I started, as I was working out and as I was progressing and developing, I found out that I started having neck issues. And my neck was bothering me. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even turn my head. And then I ended up finding out I had a fractured disc and 4-pinch nerves.
Dang.
So the doctor told me that the doctor told me I was really fortunate that I wasn't paralyzed because these nerves were almost severed. I lost feeling in my hands for about a month before the surgery, and then I ended up having a fusion, so a C6, C7 fusion. So they put a cage in there, and I got a plate in there. And then after that, I lost feeling in my hand. I was on painkillers for about 6 months. I got addicted to those. I got up to 300 pounds, man. I'm only 5'10", so 300 pounds on me is a big dude. So I couldn't do anything. I had to sit around. I ended up weaning myself off of my own painkillers after I found out. I didn't know I was addicted until I tried quitting. And then, I just tried to quit. I was like, I don't need these anymore. And then, I would have night sweats. I'd wake up. I wouldn't be able to go to sleep, man. My whole body hurt. And I was like, oh, man, I'm having withdrawals. So I ended up, I was able to do that. And then I was like, and I wasn't healthy anymore. So I was like 300 pounds of, and this is being after athletic, after college, after, working out, everything that I've been doing. So I was real discouraged at that point. But I knew I had to get back into shape. So I ended up getting back into shape. I ended up that year, focusing more on the Lord, but focusing on my health, not just lifting weights, but my health, because I had high nitrates. I had high cholesterol. They were going to put me on blood pressure medicine. I was only 24 years old, man, and I was going to be on all these medications. Wow. So I ended up getting from that year, I was 24 into my 25-year-old. I ended up going from about 300 pounds to actually about 210. So in that year, I ended up losing a lot of weight.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was never the skinny. So that took a hit on my confidence too, because then I lost all my muscle mass, and I've always been known as someone that was bigger, someone that could put on muscle mass. I kind of use that as my identity. I would work out I'd be the big guy, always trying to walk around, and a lot of it was maybe insecurities, but I always felt like I always got a lot of attention for being bigger and stronger than a lot of guys. So I really involved my identity around the gym. So I started trying to get bigger, and then about that time I ended up getting married, and I didn't want my pictures to look bad for one, but those are the ones you look back on. So I ended up getting married, and I was trying to stay healthy. We had a baby on the way. It had to be healthy for my kids. So I ended up getting serious again. So as I started progressing, I got more serious like I used to. I actually got bulked back up, and then I learned more about macronutrients. I learned more about health, how to carb cycle. So I ended up cutting back down. So I ended up working out, man, 6 days a week, dieting 7 days a week. It basically became my life again. So I'd be going to the gym alone. I'd be going to the gym for 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. I'd take the 7th day off, but I would know that was carb loading days. So my diet, everything was focused on my health and athletics, and sports, man, or nutrition and personal development. So even to the fact that was pretty much first place, looking now, this is hindsight, but looking back now, there was nothing I didn't think about in the morning. Like I'd wake up and, I'd read a Bible verse, but the next thing I would do is look at my my fitness app, and, where are my macros at for the day? What can I eat? How am I going to set that up with flexible dieting? It revolved around everything. I ended up cutting weight, getting down to about, after I bulked back up to 220, I was able to keep my muscle mass. I was like sub 15% body fat. I was going to expos. I got sponsorships from supplement companies, and I was going to expos. I was doing demos, and I actually was really close to starting my own supplement business. So I was all in. I was all in on this.
Now, for you, was professional sports ever a dream of yours, or did you always know that you would someday be doing something different?
And that's where I was headed, actually. And I actually, man, when you came out with this ministry, it hit me because I'm actually freshly dealing with a lot of this stuff again.
Okay.
So that was back then in my young age, but I really taken another toll recently too. So like what I was saying, I was thinking about starting my own supplement company, and I was doing expos, and I was doing this was just a year and a half ago, man. I was doing expos. I was a brand ambassador. I
remember seeing you doing some of that stuff.
Yeah. So this is recent. This is all fresh, and this is why it hit me when you're talking about doing this. And so that was my goal. At that time, I was working out 6 days a week. I was cutting my body fat. I was ready to start a supplement company. I had the business loan out to start the supplement company. Like it was full go, and I was gonna do supplements. I was thinking about competing and like bodybuilding because I was finally able to maintain my muscle mass while cutting weight. Like I did a lot of research on it, and I had a lot of good trainers. But then what ended up happening is I ended up pulling out my back. So I was out. And I've been having back problems. I have surgery. So I went in.
Wow.
And I went in the doctor's, man. This is just last year. And I had 3 bulging discs. And, 3 bulging discs and 2 pinched nerves. One was my sciatic nerve. And the only thing that they said could help me was probably surgery. And that's not a route I wanted to take again after my past experience.
Exactly.
So what I ended up doing is I ended up getting I ended up going to like a spine and pain doctor. And I ended up getting cortisone shots in my spine.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where, so that was my hope. I had hope again, This was about 6 months later. I had hope that this pain would go away and I'd be able to, fulfill what I was doing, man, like what I had my whole heart and my whole life into really at that point. And so I ended up getting those shots. Well, one day I was able to start working out again after these cortisone shots. But so I was on the bench. I was back up to like 260 again in weight, man. But I was hitting the weights hard. I was benching over 400, and I was bulking. And I remember I got up, man, and my head just hurt. And I'm like, all right, well that's weird. And I thought it was my pre-workout. So I got up off the bench. My head's hurt. I continued with my workout. The next about 18 days, man, I had migraines that would cause me to be nauseated. I had blurred vision. Dude, I had to lay in bed for the next 18 days. I went,
What's going on, man?
yeah, I went to the ER. And I went to the ER. They couldn't tell me anything. They said nothing was in my brain. But, dude, like, honestly, it was like one of the most depressing moments of my that point in time. I was like, man, I thought I was done for sure lifting. I thought my life, like I was depressed, dude. Like I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. My head hurt so bad. I was dizzy. This went on for 18 days, dude. So you contemplate a lot of things, and you definitely reevaluate what's important, because I didn't know if I was stuck like this, if I was going to be able to recover. Finally, what I found out from a CT scan is I have something called Stenosis, and also I have some pinched nerves in my neck, and I have something called stenosis, and that's where it's from working out. They said it's from working out and doing heavy weights, but I'm losing the curve on my neck, and it's also called where your nerves go through your spine. It's starting to close up, so everything's pushing on my nerves, and so now they told me I can't work out for a year, like nothing, like I can't touch weights for a year. So this is the longest that I've been having to go without weights, and this was 3 months ago. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, talk about depressed, man. That's when I heard your story. I could relate, because I thought I had a goal, man. I had my life was good. I was thankful that everything that was going on. I thought for sure I was going to own like a supplement company. I was going to do something, or I was going to be at least involved in fitness. I started taking classes to get certified, and then this. So I totally had to reevaluate everything. And it got so bad that I actually had to quit my other job. That was part of the reason that I quit, was because I could no longer be physical. I couldn't pick up anything over 20 pounds. So it involved my family life. It involved my work life. It involved everything. So I got to that point where, if I'm stuck like this, do I want to live like this? It got to that point where you're thinking, like, do I really want to continue my life like this?
Mm-hmm.
Even though you have so much more, I had my family, but with pain, with no, you couldn't see a future right in front of you.
That's right.
That's when you start to contemplate,
So why, like with you, fitness and nutrition, and that lifestyle, why was that something that you desired so bad?
And like I said, I think it started way back before high school, man. It was my release. It was my outlet. I didn't have a great life at home, I guess. Like, my parents were divorced. There was like alcoholism. There was things like that and things that built up inside of me. I moved out early. And that was kind of part of moving away. It was just doing my own thing, but I had a lot of unresolved issues. And, from there, it went from, being my outlet to being my inlet. I got a lot of attention. I got a lot of attention. I got a lot of recognition, kind of helped my self-esteem and my confidence. So, it became ingrained in me young, as far as athletics and performance and things like that. And then not until recently did I start getting the full knowledge of it. And also then, it started coming back, people were noticing I was getting to new levels that I'd never been before, because I had more knowledge. I had more knowledge on macronutrients. I had more knowledge on, high intensity, cardio. I had more knowledge. And it was kind of always been ingrained in me. I mean, that's what I've always identified as someone that was in the gym or athletic or worked out, So,
wow.
Going through
where
this,
are you at in that process now?
Totally
so now, like, obviously you said 3 months ago is kind of where that, all that happened. And now you got to wait a whole another, 8 months before you can try to, get out there and be more fit again. When you work so hard to get to this point, so where's your mind at? Like, what are you considering next steps, career, life, purpose? What do you think your purpose is from this day forth? What are you going to be focusing on?
Yeah, man. So when you're at that low of a level, where do you really go? And that's why I'm glad you got this ministry, because now people like me have somewhere to go. But before, I've never heard of an athletic ministry that outreaches to, people that are going through, athletic injuries or changing their course. Like, where do you go, man? So, I mean, I did what I noted. I went to the Word, the Scriptures, man, and I still contemplated. You got to trust, but it's hard to do until you get into a situation. Like, I trusted that, God does all good things. Everything that He does is for our good.
Right.
And I feel like, God wants us to be happy, man, and God wants us to love and to love others and to love our life. But, you know, at that point, I had to reevaluate. And I feel like, you know, God will take something away from you, something you love, to show you what you love most, and to really set your priorities, you know? So I mean, I don't think it's wrong to be athletic. I don't think it's wrong to be healthy, but sometimes, especially if you're focused on ministry and you're focused on the word, sometimes things can get a hold of you, man, and it can take up all of your priorities, you know? And looking back now, that's what was happening to me, man. Like I'd leave my kids, you know, my work day would be like, you know, from 8 to 5, and then I'd work out from like 5 to 7, and then my kids would go to sleep, you know, and then I'd have weekends with them. You know, I'd read scriptures in the morning, and in the afternoon I'd go to church regularly. But what was my life showing? You know what I mean? What was my life demonstrating, I guess you could say. And looking back now, man, you know, I kind of, you know, life is temporary. Life is a vapor. And, you know, and we strive for things. We strive for gains. And that's how I look at it now, is that my physical gains could be taken away from me at any time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our bodies are corruptible. Our body, I could have a car accident. I could have a season injury, life sports ending injury. I could have any of that happen to me at any point in time. And like you said, everything that we've worked so hard for could just be gone, you know?
That's right.
So that's where I was at. I was like, you know, at least I didn't start that business. I didn't lose everything. You know, all this happened to me right before I was about to take that dive. And it was a time where it allowed me to reevaluate what really is important in my life, you know? So I was able to, you know, put priorities in different places, you know? So now I'm more focused on helping others, man, like you. When you get to the point, where you don't know what else there is to live for, you start thinking about other people, like who else is, you know what I mean? Not so mainly so you can look for advice at first.
Right.
After you go through it, and you know those people like you are there to talk to, man, you're able to give that advice and give that, you know, direction to other people. And so that's kind of my mission now, man. And because I've been there now,
right?
I can relate. You know,
right.
So,
well, it sounds like you're still kind of in that process, and that's all right, man. And you know, you can look at me and know that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to save this to the end, but I feel like I should say it to you now. Like, this is something. When I say that this is God's plan for my life, this isn't something that I figured out on my own. This is a process that once I surrendered my heart to the Lord, He led me through and showed me some things, and I didn't know it then. That I would be sharing the things that He showed me with other people. But now I realize why I had to go through what I went through. Yeah. And so one of the things that was shared with me when I was kind of where you are at, like, man, it's over. But I was still trying to like work out and get back. Because I really believed, and this is going to be in my book, I really believe God was going to heal me.
Yeah.
Enable me to play sports again. Because I was like, man, I've been good at it my whole life. He gave me these natural talents and abilities. And so if He wouldn't have given me these natural talents and abilities if there wasn't some purpose or use for it, right? And plus I was good at it. And so when it got took away, I was like, was my whole life a waste? Did I just waste the last 7 to 15 years of my life? And it was actually a mentor of mine who, I don't even know how much he played sports, but he said this to me. He said, because I was contemplating my purpose, and he said, what role were you fulfilling on the football team? And I was like, what are you talking about? You know, I was at the end. You know, I was like, duh. And he was like, no. Like, were you a leader? Were you a supporter? Like, what was your function on the team? Because you were probably operating in your purpose and you didn't even know it. And so when I started to look at that and see, man, you know what? I was a leader on my team. So maybe leadership is something for me. And so when I see a person like you and I hear your story, and obviously we worked together at Verizon for that short amount of time, but I want to let you know that to some aspect, I don't know, I don't want to say it's your full purpose. I don't pretend to know that, but you are very inspirational. You have a natural gift to inspire people. The moment you go from like, this is my life, this is what I know, to like, this is something that's helpful for people, you have a natural gift for that. And one of the things that's hard for people to notice is their natural gifts, because it comes easy to you. And you think that if it's easy for you, that it's easy for everybody. And that's just not true. And so, man, I know to some aspect of your life, like, you're called to inspire people. You're doing it now. You're inspiring me. Me hearing your story is inspiring me. Even though I've been through it, it's still inspiring to hear how you climbed out, how you processed what you were going through. And so I just want to offer that to you to say, man, God's going to use you to inspire people.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. That means a lot, man. But like I said, coming from you, like hearing your story, like I felt like I had something to share too, and that's why I messaged you right away. I mean, I felt like we could relate, and I felt like your story, in some proportion, you know, was what I was going through.
Right.
And mine was later in life, man. Mine was, and see, yours, you had a future. You were looking at going pro. You were looking at your life. I'm at the age now, man, where that is my life. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm old enough now where I'm like, that is my life. This is what I'm in the middle of. This is what I'm doing. Like I said, my identity revolved around that. Yeah. And when you lose your identity, man, you really have to think things through, you know? Mm-hmm. And so now my goal is I've been reading more, man. I've been reading motivating books. I've been reading scripture. Obviously, that's something I take a lot into. Take a lot of time into to really dig deep into. So what I'm doing now is I'm starting to stop serving myself, because that's where my identity was. My identity was serving myself, making myself better, you know, each and every day. But now my identity is moving towards helping others become better each and every day. So I'm planning a trip next week. I'm going to Nicaragua for a mission trip.
Really cool.
So, you know, I told you that. So, you know, that's what I'm going to start doing. And, you know, I've already started doing some little things on the side, and the joy, I guess, the fulfillment that these little doing serving others doesn't even compare. You know, like what I was doing for myself, that joy doesn't compare to helping others. Right. You know what I mean? So the blessings, even though I haven't made too many moves yet, I haven't made too many moves. My joy and my peace are about the same. Dude, it's so close within 3 months, but my joy and my peace are about where I was when I was serving myself. And I know I haven't even come to the top.
All right, guys. Wow, you heard it. Brandon's story is amazing. It is inspiring. I hope that you felt encouraged by our interview and our time together, because Brandon is exactly the type of people that I am trying to help. Somebody who was at the pinnacle. I'm doing commercials, was known as a guy who was a gym rat and who was strong and who was athletic, and his identity got tied up into it. And yet it got stripped away from him. And now he's in a place where he's questioning what's next for him. And he's trying to figure out his life's purpose, how he can inspire people. And he's doing that. He's going to Nicaragua to inspire other people and be used by God. And so there's life after athletics. There's hope after sports. And these are the people I'm trying to help. And so I want to thank you for listening to Brandon and my interview. And I really hope that it inspires you to support this movement, to support this ministry, because it's going to help people like Brandon, people who have kids, people who have family, but they just need help. They just need guidance. They just need direction. They need somebody who understands what it's like to have your identity tied up in sports. They need somebody who understands what it's like to have something stripped away from you that you thought was maybe your life purpose, or at least an aspiration of yours, and now it's no longer possible. How do you overcome failure when you don't get another opportunity? Brandon is somebody that I'm trying to help, but I need your help to do it. So please give what you can. Give what God leads you to give. I need your financial support. I need money to take this message all over the world to the people who need it the most, the people who are struggling right now with their identity, with depression, to struggle to get back in shape because they're no longer playing organized sports anymore and forced to get up at 6 a.m. and do workouts. And they're wondering, how do I get back in shape when I'm not as athletic as I used to be? Why should I get back in shape when there's no reason for me to work out? And so we're trying to give them hope. We're trying to give them the right mindsets. We're trying to help them live out their best life that's ahead of them and not behind them. So please help me share this message. Give, pray, share. I need you. Until next time, I'm Darryll, and I thank you for your support.